Hey, great to be here. I'm aLex and we're here weekly for a half-hour practice in small movements that takes a certain patience, a certain slowing down, and then stillness, a meditation, stillness and silence. And these things help us to cultivate time and patience. So get what you need for to be in a comfortable position. Our small movement will be like last week. It'll be a breathing practice. So you could do this laying down. You could do it in a box. You could do it with a fox. You could do it. You can do it any position that's comfortable for you. Even laying on your belly, on your side. I'm gonna choose seated, and so let's arrive together. Arrive together. And in arriving, what really helps me, helps many of us, is to feel the ground. Get settled, position the body just right. It doesn't have to be in a formal posture just yet. That might appear what I'm showing you on this screen, but it could be not a formal seated meditation posture necessarily yet. Once we get to that part of our program, we'll go into that. So just arriving to stop and sense your body, your whole self right here. And thank you again for being here with me in live real time or later on. So as we stop and arrive and sense into how our body feels the presence of ground support underneath, changes begin to happen in the nervous system, in the brain waves. And you might, as we're arriving, as I guide you through some techniques for arriving that you probably already well know, actually, you may kind of also run this program of your intent, of your intention of why am I here? What am I here for? What brings me here? What brought me here? And through the body, you might be sensing certain way the joints and muscles feel, the bones. You may be sensing places on the body that are softer and moving with the breath's touch. You might be feeling the places that are working or sore, the places that are relaxed. And as we bring our attention to watch the body, similar to how when we watch the breath, it it feels that it's being observed. It sort of knows it, and it also knows and seems to respond. There are parts that begin to let go, or you may notice places that are holding on for dear life. The whole landscape, this three-dimensional landscape of the body, has different areas that are, the different areas just have different expressions, different experiences. As you relax your face, your eyes, your jaw, and begin to sort of stream down with the flow and pull of gravity, streaming to feel the heaviness, how it's registered at sits bones, at your back if you're lying on the ground, at your shoulder blades, at your ankles, whatever parts are touching the floor, the chair, the carpet, the bed underneath you. And then how the hands are resting against, for me, they're resting against my feet so that the feet provide the ground for my hands. And so you may notice, but check for yourself how this experiencing this um, practice of attending to how body meets ground, ground supports body, how it's shifting your sense of yourself. So, this practice, as I approach my movement and meditation practice these days, is to look for what's fluid, what's easeful, what's light, what's harmonious, what's integrated easily, more and more effortlessly. And now fold in the breath, the attention, fold in to this span of our attention, fold in the breath. And it feels like there's a kind of patience to stay. A patience is asked of us to restrain maybe an impulse of the body and of the mind. And the mind to stay attentive on breath, groundedness, the unbroken flow of attention becomes a very powerful tool. And what you might be noticing about your breath. And then, why, without abandoning ground, body, hands, breath, a sense of relaxation, open your ears to the sounds around you. I'm being fairly still, but you don't have to be completely still at this phase of our practice. If there's some movement that needs to be happen to adjust, feel free to indulge that. So sound, let attention include now sound, which comes from out there to in here. Where is it actually? Without the mechanism of the ear to hear it, would it be there? And we'll segue right into a practice with our breath. Imagine the barrel of your torso from the lower ribs up to the top of the rib cage, just sort of at the throat, above the collarbones, and at the sides and back and front. Divide it to slice it so there's a front half and a back half. So a plane vertically. And then divide each of those into four. So two upper quadrants, two lower quadrants on the front, two upper on the back, two lower on the back. And begin to imagine that you're following your breath. Maybe you even imagine the breath has a color to it, and follow it into the lower front right, lower front right quadrant for you, as if to follow, not to say that you're not breathing in many other spaces of the lungs, but imagine you could do as I'm doing, putting a hand on that lower right ribs, and imagine the breath, feeling the breath as it comes into there and out of there. Particular following that targeted area that the breath comes into. Front right, lower right, eighth. And then come up to the upper right quadrant in the front. And you need not do anything with the breath. You might find yourself breathing a little more deeply to accentuate the path that you're following. But there's no need to change the breath. You can keep it just very natural. And as we relax, the breath may be getting softer, less full, actually. Again, you're not necessarily not breathing in the rest of the rib cage, but kind of highlighting with your attention, following this path. And now the upper left quadrant receives and releases breath. And then the lower right front. Taking your time, feeling the patience of staying with, letting the attention stay. And if the attention jumps somewhere else, it's easy to include that in the feel of our awareness, in the feel and field, the boundless field. And now move to the upper right back quadrant. Noticing anything else that comes in. Maybe it's the certain feel of the shoulder blades or the neck, the feel of the way your legs or hips are part of this. So while we're tracing that path into the upper right back quadrant and back out of the breath, our periphery of our attention is soft so we can take in what else is happening and not let it come or go, not be agitated by it, or if we are, we notice that. And then the lower right quadrant of the lung space and back, and perhaps letting your exhales go a little bit longer, or just not hurrying the breath, allowing it to be free to move. And by that intention, it's inviting the body, the way the body responds, to be more free to shift and soften and allow the breath. You might even feel that this breath reaches down into your middle and lower back toward the hip, and then shift to the upper left quadrant behind you. Perhaps something different and new, the way when the breath moves, how it touches edges of different parts, different territories in the body, and how it might be shifting the feel of your whole self. And now shifting to the lower left back quadrant. And then envision the breath evenly flowing into the whole of your rib and lung space, maybe even seeping a little out beyond it in all directions of this spherical orb. And then, with as little fuss as possible, transition to the position, just staying with the breath, staying with what attention is folding in, is coming into our attention. Set up for the stillness and silence of meditation. I'm taking a grounding mudra first with my hands, and you can do what you need with your hands, whatever posture you're in. And we'll just re-arrive at this moment as we're settling, setting up and settling, and freshly seeing what's here now after this practice. So the mudra that I take, sometimes called universal mudra or cosmic mudra, with the right hand below the back of the left left knuckles touching into the inner right, and then the thumbs lightly touching, like the left and the right, the yin and the yang, lightly touching. And it becomes a little um, meter of how you can, a gauge of how you can. Sometimes, if you feel your thumbs pressing tightly together, there's too much yang there, and if they come apart or they're too lax, too yin. So you find the just right gauge by the touch of the thumbs to each other there. tips of the thumbs. And if you do choose this mudra, then to find how your arms can rest and the shoulders, wrists, arms, neck are not burdened, but are supported by this, holding this gesture of the hands. And so for about 8 or 9 minutes, we'll sit now. I'll offer a few words of guidance, but basically you can take any of the techniques we've used so far or others that you know yourself to keep re-arriving at the new moment, to let attention simply be open to the experience right here and now. Just welcoming and non-reacting or noticing the reactions that come. Lightly. It does not need to be an intensity in the attention. To practice simply being with, meaning our attention is with in a neutral kind of way. Neutral, and yet for some reason there is an element of kindness in that neutrality of full acceptance of what is. For resistance is futile. Whether something arises that is perhaps a nagging issue that has been with you for many, many years, or something new that's challenging, or something delightful, a judgment in the positive or negative direction. Can we relax with it and allow a spaciousness to be with yourself and with it? One of my teachers often reminds us that awareness, that boundless essence of ourself, is like the sun, providing light that allows clarity and warmth, heart warmth, warmth toward yourself. A gentle patience that dissolves right into now. And for the last bit here, follow 3 breaths. Gently bring the palms in front of your heart as we transition from our practice, but slowly feeling perhaps whatever is living in you right now, whatever is true, and that could be a mix of things, some comments, or it could be a very quiet, peaceful state, and perhaps, as in me, a sense of gratitude for you out there joining me for this practice, for all the wise teachers and Sangha community who support us and who have come before us, and for the power of this practice of time and patience that is an antidote to stress and stuckness and of, of challenges we face in our own internal knots, of things outside us, of things seeming beyond control. That to bring the calm, to bring the presence, to calm down, quiet down, to bring the yin into our nervous system brings a balance that is incredibly powerful. And so I'm going to leave you with a quote from a book I'm reading. It's fiction and it's a kind of thriller, but Tolstoy is quoted, and I was reading it this morning and inspires my theme for today. The villain is caught and he says that they're trying to get information out of him. And he says, "Yes, I had years to think about this moment being in prison. Time and patience," Tolstoy said. "Those are the strongest of warriors." And he was right. So time and patience. Thank you so much for being here, and all those of you who join later again, or you're in real time when you can do a neck roll. Sorry, didn't ask. Yes, of course you could do a neck roll. Ciao. So glad that you were here with us, Sandra. Bye. Thanks for joining. Yes, I didn't see the chat earlier. You can do whatever stretches you need to get ready for stillness. See you next time. Please do check out our website, sunandmoonstudio.com. Join me here each week, almost each week. And see the other thing I was going to say, yes, sunandmoonstudio.com. And I'd love to hear from you how your practice is going, what questions you have, what works, what doesn't work. That's part of what helps us along on our path, the support of our Sangha. aLex at sunandmoonstudio.com will reach me, and take care. Oh, yeah, I was going to tell you another thing about my time and patience. I'll save it for next week. Ciao, ciao.